artificial insemination, one of them asked the other that why is it that millions of sperms are required to fertilize just one egg? And the other very candidly replied that maybe just like men, only 1 in a million have a sense of direction. So you can well imagine what an ego booster it was. Kickstart that trip. Everyone says let's think positive. We say let's think beta HCG positive. I say let's think babies. Collective thinking has got a great power. Perhaps that's the reason we set up religious monuments so that all of us can go there and collectively pray. So I would request all of you to keep the cynicism and the skepticism aside for a moment and just think positive and just think collectively about babies. Let me introduce a little about the organization. Vizag Surrogacy Consultants is an arm of Vizag Corp, which is an international organization into various areas of healthcare. WSC or Vizag Surrogacy Consultants Australia was set up with the primary reason to be able to cater to the specific needs, legalities and aspirations of our Australian friends. The basic topic of my presentation is pioneering surrogacy protocols. We at WSC have developed pioneering surrogacy protocols with the sole objective of optimizing the surrogacy procedure in India to maximize success. These PSPs have been developed not only to optimize the surrogacy procedure per se, but to optimize every important aspect that is related to surrogacy. These aspects include the legalities, the IVF and medical care, antenatal care and delivery, and finally, the exit visa. So we are basically a one-stop shop solution for all surrogate requirements. Now, when we talk about the optimization of the surrogate protocols, there are 4 or 5 important aspects that need to be optimized. The first is the surrogate management. The second is the surrogate coordination. The third is the IVF treatment. The fourth is the variable factors that might arise throughout the procedure. And the fifth is to optimize the monitoring of every step that gets along throughout the process of surrogacy. So I will very shortly run through each one of them. To start with the surrogate management. We at WSC have got SOPs to optimize every aspect of surrogate management, right from the screening of the surrogate to the recruitment, followed by the monitoring, compensation, and the housing. The screening of the surrogate not only includes the medical and the biological screening, but also majorly focuses on the psychological and the social screening. Here there's another point which was also illustrated by the past presenter, the surrogate housing. Now this phenomena is still new and in rarity in India. Only about 10% of the centers or the agencies have got their own surrogate homes. But here I would like to share with you that having a surrogate home where the surrogates can collectively stay can be one major advantage, where all of them can be taken care of, their procedures can be optimized, their medicines can be given on time, their food and hemoglobin can be checked, and the monitoring can be made much more easy. Coming over to the second aspect of optimization, which we've been loosely talking about since morning, that's the surrogate coordination. This is one of the major aspects that is going to determine the success of the procedure. To be able to do that, we have a 3-tier quartet system. This system comprises of the case managers, the social workers, the surrogate coordinators, and the clinical coordinators. The case managers are in direct touch with you, that is the intended parents. The social workers stay in the surrogate homes along with the surrogates. The surrogate coordinators are an important link between the case managers and the social workers, and the clinic coordinators are an important link between the case manager, the surrogate, and the clinic. This makes the entire procedure extremely communicative and very transparent. With agencies like us, I guess we are never letting you get into a situation like that when you're going to rely on a kangaroo, because we have trouble in finding a surrogate mother, that's what they say. Coming over to the next aspect, once we move on from the surrogate aspect, we come to the IVF aspect. This is going to be extremely important, and here is where I would like to share with you what is the model that we deal with. Till now, you've been primarily exposed to centers who are doing surrogacy and are also involved in the monetary aspects and who are also doing the clinical aspects themselves. Without any opposition to any of that, we wanted to set up an agency where the IP would not be bound to undergo the IVF treatment with one particular clinical center. So what we've done is that we are doing everything in-house, right from the legalities through a legal panel, the surrogate management and coordination. However, for the IVF, we have tie-ups with top-notch IVF centers across the country. This gives a big advantage to the IP to be able to select that which IVF center they would like to go ahead with. The IPs might have various concerns. Some IPs might have a concern of cost. Some IPs might have a concern of the place they would like to undergo the IVF procedure or maybe the delivery, and there could be other various concerns. I would just like to elaborate since this is a very important slide. The IVF centers across India can be basically evaluated on the basis of 3 or 4 criteria. One would obviously be the credibility of the center itself. The second would be the experience and expertise of the doctor who is going to carry out the IVF procedure. And the third very important part is going to be the protocols that are followed by the doctors. In India, there is a variability about the belief in what protocols need to be followed. As we discussed in the morning, most of the centers, if we talk about embryo transfers, are going ahead with 2 to 3 embryo transfers. However, there are some centers which go ahead with 4 to 5 embryo transfers. Recently, some international IVF centers are being set up in India which propagate only a single embryo transfer. So why should this decision be a binding on you that what you would like to go ahead with? You can evaluate between the pros and cons of various protocols that are handled by different IVF centers and select the one that you want. Similar is the case in certain other aspects. For example, cesarean versus normal delivery. There are various centers which would prefer to go in with a cesarean delivery, whether it's a twin or a singleton delivery. However, there are other centers which would want to avoid a cesarean delivery and would propagate strongly a normal delivery. Then a third important aspect could be the aspect of cost. Delhi is not the same as Mumbai, which is not the same as Gujarat, which is not the same as Hyderabad. Even in Delhi, where we are based, there are centers where there's a variability of the costs. The costs would depend upon various other aspects like the infrastructure, the facilities offered, and other aspects. So you would have the flexibility of finding out that what cost you want to bear and what facilities you want like to demand for those costs. So one basic advantage in this model is that you have got multiple options of selecting the IVF centers. The second important aspect is that not only the IVF centers, you have multiple options of selecting from amongst the packages. As I briefly told in the morning, we've got East-East package, we've got West-East package, we've got package with Indian egg donors, we've got packages with Caucasian egg donors, we've got packages for frozen embryos, we've got packages for shipping of the embryos to India, and so on and so forth. So we customize, since we are not bound with a single clinic, we can customize the package as per your needs and demands. Here I would like to raise one important part. When I see various packages, I can see that there are packages which are made for success and there are packages which are made for failures. When I say packages made for success, there should be one common factor which states that profit should be made only by the agency or the center if a success can be achieved. Else, the IP should not have to shell out money for the profit of the agency if the success is not being achieved. So one should be sure that before the confirmation of the pregnancy, one should not have to shell out more than maybe 25 to 30% of the cost of the entire package. In addition to the multiple options of IVF centers and packages, we offer multiple attempts in all our packages, and further on they can be further customized depending upon your needs and requirements. Now here there's another aspect that needs to be optimized, which is not really in our control. These are some of the other factors that might determine success, ranging from whether it should be a self cycle or a donor cycle, whether there should be fresh embryos or frozen embryos that should be used, what is the number of embryos that should be transferred, and what is the success rate with respect to the number of attempts and how many attempts you're getting. Obviously, I cannot elaborate on each one of these because we have limited time. In addition to this, it's important to see whether recent advancements, technological advancements and medical advancements are being used or not. I have spoken to various IVF specialists across the world, and most of them clearly state that IVF is not going to see any major revolution in the years to come. But what it is going to see is going to be the optimization and the standardization of the procedures that already exist. So we need to see how we can make use of these advanced technologies, and India is as better as anywhere in the world where all these technologies are available and can be used, right from PGD to AMH, follicular study, oocyte freezing, blastocyst culture, IMSI, and you name it. Coming over to my last aspect of optimization, this is an extremely important aspect. When we have a choice of the IVF center, then we choose the IVF centers with strict guidelines, and the IVF centers have to be extremely transparent with us to be able to tell us about the monitoring of every step of evaluation. Even these steps have been divided into SOPs, and we very transparently share the result and the evaluation of each step so that we can calibrate and maximize our results. So at each step, we would be able to share with you about the ovarian reserve through AMH test, followed by the follicular study, followed by the number of eggs that have matured, followed by the number of embryos that have been formed and matured, followed by the embryo thickness in case of the surrogate, followed by the number of eggs transferred, and followed by the number of eggs frozen, and finally the frozen embryo transfer. So at each state, you would get very specific information and values so that you can yourself self-monitor the entire procedure. These are some of the highlights of WISACS, which states that we are the only corporate to have organized this sector medically, legally, socially, and ethically. Since we are not a center, we are a corporate. We have SOPs for various aspects as I have discussed. We have multiple treatment options. We have our own surrogate homes, and we can provide you with success rates and in multiple IVF PT attempts, and we offer a one-stop shop solution so that you don't have to go to various places to be able to carry out the procedures. These are some of the acclaims which we've got in the Indian and international media, which is also in each one of your bags. We are an LGBT and single-parent friendly organization. We do not have any bias on the basis of any caste, creed, religion, sex, or marital status. We used to say that behind every successful man there's a woman. We say behind every successful man there's a woman, behind some there's a man, and behind some there are two. I would like to end with two ancient things which are mentioned in our ancient culture, and which everyone who is, all my friends who come from India would agree with. These are two concepts from our ancient culture, as we say. The first one is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, as they say in our native ancient language, which is Sanskrit, which means the entire world is our family. So when you people are coming to us, no matter whether you're coming to WISACS or you're coming to Rotunda or you're coming to any other center or any other agency, you should be sure that there's a family waiting for you who will treat you like their own family. I would end by saying another saying from the Sanskrit, which says Atithi Devo Bhava, which means that for us Indians, guest is God. Thanks.
We might save questions for Vivek till the end, unless anyone's got any burning ones right now they want to just get out of it off the chest right away.
Is there any age restriction for parents?
Age restrictions?
For parents? No, there's no age restriction for parents.
Oh, okay. In terms of upper or lower limits, you mean?
No, there is none.
No.
Only on the clinical factors, obviously the clinician would decide whether the parent can become a self-donor or not. From our perspective, there is no age restriction.
Okay. So if a 50-year-old couple, they're both say 50, came to you and said we want to do surrogacy, that's possible? That's
possible, but one of them would have to be okay with their genetic material in that case, because we know that you have to be genetically related to the baby. So either the sperm sample or the eggs have to be good enough to be able to create a baby. That's it.
Then come sit down, and I'll just introduce our next speaker. Mariam Kukanashvili is a rather extraordinary woman. She's a bit of a globetrotter. She, about 4 years ago, started